Inwood, New York City. Welcome to Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where you meet the musicians, filmmakers, writers, theater makers, culture makers, and artists of all stripes who make their home what we affectionately call Upstate Manhattan. I'm your host, Aaron Sims, and today we welcome one of the founders of the Harlem Swing Dance Society, Barbara Jones. Barbara A. Jones serves on the board of the Harlem Swing Dance Society, the premier Harlem nonprofit organization with the purpose of promoting, propagating, protecting, and preserving the Lindy Hop dance and various forms of swing dance culture in its Harlem birthplace. She longs to see the Harlem area once again embrace their signature cultural dance and energize community youth to be the future innovators of this unique art form. Also, to see the living legends of this dance to be honored and preserve the memories of local seniors for future generations. We're going to talk to her about her work in the community and much more. But first, let me welcome you, Barbara, to Inwood Art Works On Air. It's great to have you here.
Well, it's very nice to be here. Thank you.
You bet. Last time we saw each other, we were working on an event. We got rained out in 168th Street, and we brought it indoors, and we did some swing classes.
Yes, we
sure
did.
Fun. We prevailed. We made it happen. So can you share with our listeners your path to creating and being part of the creation of the Harlem Swing Dance Society, and what was behind the driving need to do this?
Well, I personally started taking lessons, and this was in high school. Instead of a gym class, they offered Lindy Hop or swing. Before that, I also saw some old movies with some clips, and I said, oh, I'd like to do that. So, after the gym class was over, nobody was doing it, but then I noticed people downtown doing it at Lincoln Center. And then I met a teacher there who said, oh, I teach up in Harlem. You should come take classes in Harlem. Made sense. So that's where the real seriousness of it took place. Now, to form the organization, a few of us were talking and we said, well, there's nothing up here, nothing formally set. So that was the beginning of starting the nonprofit, becoming incorporated and then a nonprofit. And we saw the loophole uptown because everybody was going downtown, and it didn't make sense because the dance started in Harlem. There should be a regular place to take lessons and to have events. So that's what we've been consistently working on.
Fabulous. Well, congratulations. It's living and breathing, and here we are, right? So can you share with us the scope of the programming you have facilitated now in an effort to make Harlem, excuse the pun, a swinging place to be?
Well, we do regular weekly classes, and we also do outreach to the area, try to get into the schools so the students can learn about it. And this is all ages, high school to preschool. We also do presentations with Harlem organizations. They may want us to do a Harlem Renaissance themed event or just see some Lindy Hop because they don't see it in the area. And thankfully, we've been involved with the Denny Farrell Riverbank State Park doing kind of like a residency. It's a dance exchange, and this way we're getting to expose it to more people. While still having old music, we have new music. And we encourage people to come, try it out, have a free lesson. So that's been working out very well.
So do you dance with live music too, or is it all canned? Do you have like bands play and also do dances, or?
For some events, we do have a band. Like we do yearly an annual event called the Harlem Roots and Rhythm Urban Dance Festival. So we have a band, at least one jazz band. But people like to hear the different sounds. And I notice young people, they're excited when they see us do it to newer music of the 21st century. They're like, I never thought that could happen, you know. Thought this was my great-grandmother's dance. So
perhaps Beyonce, swinging to Beyonce, perhaps, or
it can happen.
It can happen.
It can happen.
Awesome.
So we do that, and we also hope to bring back the Harvest Moon Ball, which was a dance contest that happened in the city. I think the last one was in the 80s, but anyway.
Okay.
It's a famous dance contest that used to happen in the city, different genres, and we're hoping to be a part of that for this fall.
Well, that'd be great. Happening this fall.
We're hoping
Oh
so.
wow, that's great. Very good. Well, I'm glad you mentioned young people, and I want you to talk a little bit about your engagement with the youth in the community because that's the future of the form, right?
It keeps it
It
alive.
does. So as and what I really think is wonderful is that the Harlem Swing Dance Society is giving back culturally to Harlem youth and experience they'll remember, and by doing the dance, to their new music or the older form, so to speak, that they may have their grandparents danced with at Savoy, maybe.
Great grand.
Great grandparents. They do so by learning the They also are learning history in a fun and exciting and
Yes.
what right?
Yes, they do.
It's pretty great. And is there? I mean, it's a great way for anyone of all ages to study and celebrate Black history and just the cultural of New York City. Yeah.
Yes, it is. It's a challenge because sometimes it's not the kids, it's the parents or the school system, people within who like, no, no, we don't want them to learn that, but they need to learn it. It's interesting. This is Black History Month, and you figure Harlem culture, Harlem Renaissance, they
Right.
would see it, they would talk about it. But the schools talk about the jazz, they talk about the poets, they talk about the arts and other dances, but they skip over the Lindy Hop.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an oxymoron that's just ridiculous to me because that's when the dance became popular during that period. It's the most famous dance out of Harlem.
Yeah.
But when this time of year comes around,
Well, I'm glad you're looking. You're actively
but that's our challenge.
That's what I'm saying. That's what you're changing. That's why you're relevant. But I'm glad you mentioned coming out of Harlem. So you're not limited to just performing in the Harlem community.
Right. We go outside of the community. We've been as far as Memphis.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Are you? Is there a big Lindy Hop scene in Memphis, or is there anywhere else where like you make like a yearly pilgrimage to that is like has a really strong Lindy scene?
You know, every place seems to have a strong Lindy scene, even downtown New York compared to Harlem where it began. And that's the strangest thing. But all it takes is a generation to not do it, not tell
Right.
the children, and it gets passed on, sadly.
Well, it's funny because you're right. It takes generation, it takes the reinforcement, particularly in schools, particularly in the programming, which I still feel it's so crazy that why would you leave out Lindy? Why is jazz more important than Lindy? And I don't understand it. Like you, but Harlem, like Northern Manhattan in general, is seeing great changes in its ethnic and racial makeup and socioecological makeup over the years. And so, being a long time resident yourself, I mean, how would you describe the local art scene now in Harlem? I mean, I think it is changing. There's more people coming up that are bringing in more things, and they're coming from elsewhere. And so, do you find there's more new people coming and interested?
Yes, yes. And from other countries, when they're coming here, they seem more interested. And that's because maybe they've seen the movies or they've seen people dance in their own
Right.
country. I mean, all over the world, as far as Mexico, Africa, Sweden, just about every state has a Lindy Hop or a swing dance scene or an organization. So again, that's our challenge,
Yeah.
and we just got to fill the hole.
That's a whole. But yeah, you're a torchbearer. I tip my hat to you. It's a lot to take on to keep moving it forward, but somebody's got to do it. And do you have other people on the board like yourself pushing it forward with you?
Oh yes, yes.
Good.
And little by little, we've seen improvements. We've seen enthusiasm and support. We're working with a few organizations here in Harlem, and as I mentioned, the Riverbank Park, that's been supportive with us for the last few months.
Fabulous. Well, maybe I can get you up in Inwood again this year. Maybe get you up here. So 2025, moving forward, you have youth programming, your Riverbank State Park, perhaps the Harvest Moon Festival or
Moonball.
Moonball. Excuse me, festival. My brain. So you've done a lot, and you're doing a lot. So how do you feel about what you've accomplished?
As an organization, we're happy. We, of course, would like to be further along, but sometimes things take time.
Right.
And to convince people and to get them enthusiastic about this culture, even here in Harlem, it's been a challenge, but gradually they're seeing the need to hold on to this culture because, in a sense, it is under attack.
Right. Is there a particular, like, do you have like a weekly, like a dance hang or anything like that that happens that people can set their watch by to say, hey, you know what, I can't do it this week and I can't make the ball, but I want to get involved and my life's busy because I'm a New Yorker. Like, where can they find you
Tuesdays. Generally on Tuesdays, we're at the Joseph P. Kennedy Center. And we have classes at 7 p.m. And they're free classes.
Amazing. Come on. There's no reason why you can't go. Can I bring my wife? Can my wife and I come?
Sure.
All right. Sounds good. She'd love that. Well, I think it's fantastic what you're going. And do you have any partners with this with the ball? Do you need partners with the ball to create?
Sure.
For it to happen in this fall?
Yes.
Okay. So where can they reach you to collaborate, perhaps, or find generally more about what you do?
They can call us or email us. Our website is being reworked.
Okay.
The phone number is 347-709-7022. And the email is theharlemswingdancesociety at gmail.com.
Awesome. Very
And
good.
as far as social media, our Facebook page is very popular. So we encourage people to see what's going on there with events and things.
Cool. So, folks, you have your marching orders, how you can get involved. And do you have any particular events coming up this spring so they don't have to wait till the falls? You have your Tuesday, your Dance Tuesdays.
Yes.
When does Riverbank State Park start?
Oh, that's already started. The Dance Exchange has been
Okay.
going on for about 3 months.
Okay.
We'll be back there March 29th at the Denny Farrell Riverbank State Park. And on March 12th, we're going to be celebrating the Savoy Ballroom. Why is that important? That's where people danced, and that's where Lindy Hop became famous.
Yeah.
That's going to be March 12th, the 99th anniversary, and we're going to be doing that in conjunction or with Columbia University.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
So reach out to her if you have any ideas about how to get involved or just want to come to an event. Those are all wonderful things. Yeah, the Savoys. I'm surprised there hasn't been a Broadway musical about that yet. Or maybe there will be. I don't
maybe.
know. You never know. Well, Barbara, it's been a pleasure having you here. Is there anything else to talk about?
It's been a pleasure to be here, too.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. So thanks again to Barbara Jones for coming and joining us on this artist spotlight edition of Inwood Art Works On Air. It's where we meet the musicians, writers, theater makers, dancers, and artists of all stripes who make their home here in, we'll call it Upstate Manhattan. If you have a moment, please show us some love by rating and reviewing this podcast. Five stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It really does help. Leave a comment on YouTube. Many thanks to the Church of the Good Shepherd here for hosting us in Inwood, and also to heightssites.com for uptown promotional support. You can support On Air and all of our programming by making a tax-free donation to inwoodartworks.nyc/donate or via Venmo at Inwood Artworks. Be sure to follow us on social media to keep up all that we do, which includes the Inwood Film Festival, Filmworks Al Fresco, live performances, and so much more. Inwood Art Works On Air is proud to be supported in part by public funds from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council, and Inwood Art Works programming is made possible by the New York State Council on the Arts with the support of the Office of the Governor and the New York State Legislature. From the top of Manhattan and the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for tuning in. This is Aaron Sims for Inwood Art Works On Air.